The system is starting. You have been chosen to hear this. It is not by accident. In a world filled with noise, where everyone is quick to speak, quick to judge, you are being invited into a space of sacred silence, or a place where there is no opinion, no pressure, no expectations. It is just you and the voice that truly needs to be heard. Today, I have not come to add noise to your life. I have come to remind you, it is in silence that your soul is healed, and your mission begins.
When God is preparing to bestow something great upon you, it rarely arrives in the way you imagine. The path to true greatness is almost always marked by trials, difficulties, and seasons of deep uncertainty. In this life, there are no shortcuts to success and no effortless roads to the dreams planted within your heart. But when God is about to bless you, He doesn't simply place the blessing in your hands. Instead, He begins to shape you into someone who can carry the weight of that blessing. And this transformation is rarely comfortable. It feels as though you're being stretched beyond what you thought were your limits. The things that once seemed precious may begin to fall away. Familiar routines dissolved. Relationships shift. Your world may begin to feel unsteady and unfamiliar. Yet it is precisely in these unsettling moments that God is at work within you, refining, preparing, and molding you for what lies ahead. He doesn't casually hand you greatness. He equips you to steward it well. And that equipping often takes the form of a pruning season, a divine stripping away of all that no longer serves your calling, so you may be able to carry the fullness of the blessings He has prepared. Though it may not make sense in the moment, the pain, the loss, the struggle, they are all necessary parts of the journey. Just as a tree must be pruned to yield more fruit, your own growth requires refinement in order to embrace the greatness on the horizon. In these seasons, you will face tests of patience, of faith, and of endurance. You'll feel discouraged at times and wonder if the promise you've been holding on to will ever come to pass. But let this truth settle in your spirit. God does not test you to harm you, but to strengthen you. He permits the challenge because He already knows you are capable of enduring it. He sees strength in you, even in the moments when you question yourself. This season of stillness, this feeling of being stuck, is not time wasted. God is cultivating patience in you, building your trust, and teaching you to lean fully on Him. If you study the greatest testimonies of triumph, whether in the Bible or in our modern world, a familiar pattern emerges. Before every rise comes a waiting period, a preparation phase, and often a wilderness. David spent years fleeing Saul, wandering in desolation before he ever wore a crown. But in that wilderness, he was being shaped into the king who would lead a nation to victory. Joseph, betrayed by his brothers, thrown into slavery, and forgotten in prison, was being formed into the man who would one day rule Egypt, second only to Pharaoh. These great leaders did not emerge from ease. They were forged through adversity. When God is ready to elevate you, He will first begin removing the excess, the people, the habits, and even the opportunities that no longer align with your divine assignment. Doors may close, plans may fall through, you may question why things are slipping through your fingers, but trust this: God is orchestrating a clearing so that you won't be weighed down by distractions when your blessing arrives. You may experience loneliness. You may feel like you've been forsaken. But in that sacred solitude, God is preparing you to step into a future that requires every ounce of your focus, your obedience, and your heart. Another sign that God is preparing something big in your life is the stirring that begins to grow within your spirit, a longing for more, a sense that your current circumstances no longer fit. It's an inner restlessness, an unshakable knowing that you were made for something greater, even if you can't yet define what that is. You feel the tension, the anticipation, like you're standing at the edge of something new, something transformative. That stirring is not random. It's the echo of heaven calling your heart into alignment with God's next move. During this time, the things that once brought comfort may begin to feel empty. What once satisfied your soul will no longer suffice. Desires you used to chase lose their appeal. Why? Because God is realigning your heart with His purpose. He is shifting your vision away from the superficial and toward what is eternal. Purpose, calling, passion, these begin to sharpen in your spirit. They rise to the surface while lesser things fade away. And as this happens, it's critical to hold tightly to your faith. Even if the path ahead is hidden, know that God's timing is perfect. The hardships you face are not delays, they are training grounds. They are forging in you the strength and character required to carry what's coming. If you endure this refining season with faith and trust, you will emerge not only stronger, but wiser and ready. When the blessing comes, you won't be overwhelmed by it. You'll be prepared for it. You'll know how to steward it with integrity, strength, and grace. And finally, know this: when God is preparing to give you something significant, He will supply you with the strength and wisdom needed for the journey, but He will also call you to action. Faith that remains inactive is faith without fruit. God will challenge you to take bold steps even when you can't see what lies ahead. He won't bless hesitation, but He will honor obedience. When you move in faith, when you trust Him enough to act without all the answers, you demonstrate the very trust He's been cultivating in you all along. So in the midst of uncertainty, discomfort, and struggle, don't lose heart. These are not signs of God's absence, they are signs of His preparation. Embrace them. Trust in the divine process. Walk boldly forward into what He is shaping you for. The blessings are coming, and when they arrive, you'll be ready to receive them. Not as the person you once were, but as the one He has lovingly formed you into. When God is preparing to release something extraordinary into your life, He often starts by ushering you into a season of challenge, struggle, and transformation. This is not a coincidence, it is by divine design. The road to something profound is never smooth, and the absence of ease is not an absence of God's hand. In fact, these difficult seasons are where the deepest growth occurs. God is not seeking to break you in the hardship. He is fortifying you. Struggles are not signs of abandonment. They are the markers of divine construction. Just as athletes endure grueling training before they step onto the field, or artists labor behind the scenes before unveiling their masterpiece, so must we undergo the fires of trial before we are ready for what lies ahead. These trials may come in the form of personal loss, financial hardship, strained relationships, or internal battles. But they are not designed to defeat you. They are meant to shape the version of you that is equipped for the next chapter of God's plan. Just as gold is refined by fire, so too are your faith, character, and strength refined by the crucible of life's challenges. Though the heat may feel unbearable, it is in those very flames that you are being transformed. That pressure, it's forming something precious. Like coal becoming a diamond, the strain you feel now is producing resilience and beauty within you. When the weight becomes too heavy and you feel you can't carry on, remember, God is preparing you for a future far greater than what you can presently. The struggle is not random, it has purpose. It's developing perseverance, character, and unwavering trust. These traits are not optional, they are essential when God's blessings begin to pour into your life. Many pray for the outcome, but few are willing to endure the process. Yet without the process, we'd never be able to handle the magnitude of what God wants to give us. A blessing given too soon becomes a burden, but one given in the fullness of time becomes a miracle. Often we desire ease, we want the shortcut, but God's greatest gifts are never handed out without preparation. They require a vessel strong enough to carry them, and that strength is only forged in challenge. We tend to focus on the blessing, the outcome, the success, but we forget the cost. And that cost is not paid in material things, but in character, perseverance, and unwavering faith. These trials don't just test our resolve, they deepen our trust in God. When we reach the edge of our ability, we're forced to lean fully on Him. That dependence is not weakness, it is power. It is in surrender that we are made strong. As we learn to rely on Him through the storms, we become the kind of person who won't squander the blessing when it finally comes. Instead, we become faithful stewards, anchored in trust and grounded in truth. So no matter how hard the present moment may be, recognize that it is a stepping stone towards something greater. The pain isn't punishment, it's preparation. When the breakthrough arrives, when the door swings open, you'll be ready to walk through it, not only with confidence, but with humility and grace. As Billy Graham once reminded us, the road to God's promise is often long and winding, but it is always worth the journey. So don't curse the process, embrace it. In the end, you'll see that every detour, every loss, and every tear was carving a space in your life to hold the blessing God always intended for you. Rejection is not a denial, but rather a sign that God's greater plan is unfolding. Pruning is a natural and necessary step for growth. Consider a gardener tending to a vine or tree. In order for it to thrive, bear more fruit, and reach its full potential, the gardener must carefully trim away the lifeless or overgrown branches. This is in its preparation for greater flourishing. In the same way, God prunes your life to strengthen you and to clear space for new growth. The people or things that once had a place in your journey may no longer be meant to accompany you to the next level of your destiny. God permits certain elements to be removed so that you can make room for the new blessings He has prepared. It's essential to understand that such losses, however painful, are not the conclusion of your story. They are instead integral to God's strategy, aligning you for what lies ahead. God sees the future with clarity we cannot grasp. He foresees the opportunities, the challenges, and the individuals who will play a role in your next season. Some relationships or experiences may have fulfilled their purpose, but aren't intended to carry into the next chapter. As difficult as it may be, God sometimes has to sever the ties that keep you from embracing your divine calling. This process is not about rejection, it's about promotion. Think of your life as a journey with baggage in tow. If you're burdened with too much weight, you can't move freely, let alone run your race at the pace you're meant to. Pruning and the elimination of distractions are God's ways of lightening your load and sharpening your focus. It's about clearing your way so you can proceed with clarity and purpose. The people or situations once central to your life may no longer serve the vision God has given you. If you're surrounded by the wrong influences or confined in the wrong circumstances, you can't fully embrace your divine purpose. When God removes someone or something, it is a sign He is creating space for something far better. At first, this may be hard to comprehend, especially when it feels like you're left with less than before. But trust, God knows exactly what you need. The relationships, opportunities, or possessions He's removing were never intended to be permanent. He has something greater waiting for you. But first, you must create the space to receive it. Often we cling to people or situations because we fear what lies beyond letting go. We resist facing the unknown. But remember, God never removes something without replacing it with something better. It may not be immediately evident. It may take time, but the blessings that come after the pruning will be worth the wait. You will come to see that what once felt like loss was actually divine arrangement, a necessary realignment with God's greater plan. God does not take from us just to leave us empty. His intent is always to give us more than we could ask or imagine. But first, He must strip away the unnecessary, the distractions, the dead weight, so we can fully embrace what He has prepared. So if God is pruning your life, take heart. He is preparing you for something far greater. It's not about what you're losing, it's about the space being made for what's coming next. In these seasons of transformation, let go with trust. Let go with faith. Every loss is actually a gain. Every removal is a divine shift. God's plan for you is far too important for you to remain entangled in anything that might hinder your growth. Trust in His divine plan and know that He is creating space in your life for something extraordinary. There will be times when the road ahead feels uncertain, when the path you thought you were walking suddenly fades and the future becomes obscured. In those moments, it's easy to feel lost, confused, even discouraged. You may question whether you're still on the right path or if you'll have the strength to overcome the challenges ahead. But I urge you to hold fast to one vital truth. When your path becomes unclear, it's essential to place your faith in God's perfect timing. God's design for your life is far greater than anything you can currently perceive. It's tempting to become consumed by the immediate struggles, the obstacles, the unknowns in front of you, but these very challenges are being used by God to steer you toward the higher purpose He has planned. Even amid uncertainty, God's timing remains flawless. He doesn't make mistakes. He doesn't rush or hesitate. His plan is deliberate and custom fit to your life and divine purpose. Trust in God's timing isn't always easy. We live in a world obsessed with speed, instant gratification, fast results, immediate solutions. When we desire something, we want it now. The longer the delay, the more our faith is tested. But God's timing does not follow our schedule. His ways are not our ways, and His thoughts are not our thoughts. At times it may feel like progress is at a standstill, but I assure you, God is never. He's working behind the scenes, orchestrating details, preparing people, aligning circumstances for the right moment to be revealed. The Scripture reminds us that God makes everything beautiful in its time. He is the master planner. He knows the exact moment each piece must fall into place. His timing is not random, it's intentional. Consider the story of Joseph from the Bible. Sold into slavery by his brothers, wrongfully imprisoned, and seemingly forgotten, Joseph endured years of hardship. Yet through it all, God's hand was upon him. At the appointed time, God elevated Joseph to a position of authority, using him to save countless lives, including those of the very brothers who betrayed him. Had Joseph been promoted earlier, he wouldn't have been prepared for the magnitude of his calling. God's perfect timing allowed Joseph to be shaped, refined, and strengthened for His purpose. Like Joseph, your journey may feel riddled with delays, uncertainty, and waiting. You might ask why progress is slow or why doors are closing when you're eager to move forward. But remember, God's delay is never His denial. He is preparing you. Every moment of waiting is part of His plan to shape your character, deepen your faith, and build your strength. Waiting is never wasted. In the waiting, we learn to trust more deeply, to depend on God more fully, and to grow into the people we must become in order to receive the blessings ahead. Sometimes it's not only about waiting for God to act, it's about bringing our hearts into alignment with His timing. Faith isn't only belief in God's power, it's belief in His timing. It means trusting that while you see only part of the picture, God sees it all. Trusting His timing means surrendering your understanding, knowing He sees what you can't. It requires faith to believe that He is never early, never late, but always right on time. I know it can be difficult to trust when the future is clouded, but I urge you, lean into God's timing. Release your need to control every detail. Surrender your fears, your doubts, your impatience. Let Him lead you. He will carry you through the uncertainty, and when the time is right, He will open doors no man can shut. You may not understand it now, but one day you'll look back and see that everything happened exactly as it should have. And you will be grateful for every delay, every setback, and every moment of waiting. God is faithful. His timing is perfect. Trust Him to take you exactly where you need to go. He is preparing you for something far beyond your imagination, and He will guide you into His purpose, step by step, perfectly timed. In the end, you'll see it was His timing that made all the difference. There comes a moment in every believer's life when they feel a quiet stirring deep within, the sense that they are being called to something greater than their current life. This longing doesn't stem from dissatisfaction, but from divine awakening. There is a quiet whisper within you, God's Spirit urging you to embrace the fullness of the purpose He has set before you. It is the divine spark that ignites transformation. This inner stirring is not random. It is the unmistakable sign that God is moving in your life, preparing you for something far greater than you've ever imagined. At first, this desire may feel unfamiliar, even unsettling. It may come as a restless yearning you struggle to articulate, a feeling that the life you've grown used to is no longer enough. It's as though a persistent, gentle voice keeps telling you there is more meant for you, more than the ordinary, more than what you've settled for. This is not a craving for material success, recognition, or worldly praise. It's a deeper longing, a spiritual hunger for God's greater plan to take root in your life, unfolding in ways you never thought possible. God is stirring your heart because He has destined you for something extraordinary. And though the stirring may bring impatience or confusion, making you question why you're dissatisfied with where you are, this sensation is not a burden, it is a divine gift. It is God's way of showing you that He is working within you, preparing your spirit for the next chapter of your journey. The unique calling God has placed on your life begins with this inner restlessness. It marks the first step toward your purpose. Often, this divine awakening creates a profound discomfort with mediocrity, pushing you to reject complacency. You begin to sense that your life is not meant to be confined to your current limitations. You may catch yourself thinking, I know I was created for something more. You feel drawn toward more meaning, more passion, and a richer fulfillment. This is God's preparation of your heart for the greatness He has ordained for you. The stirring within you is not a mistake, nor is it just a fleeting emotion. It is a divine nudge, inviting you to rise higher. And know this, God never stirs your soul without a purpose. He would never place such a longing in your heart without also providing a path forward. Whether your yearning is to deepen your faith, extend your influence, serve in a greater capacity, or achieve something that feels beyond your reach, that desire is a reflection of the personal plan He has designed for you. When you feel this stirring, it's time to act. You're being called to move, not just physically, but spiritually and emotionally. Leaving behind the comfort of where you've been and stepping into the unknown, trusting that God will guide you each step of the way. Yet within this calling lies a challenge, to rise above the comfort zone that has quietly held you captive. When God begins to move your heart, it is His way of inviting you to step away from the mundane and embrace the miraculous. That longing for more is not a selfish ambition, but a divine invitation to expand your spirit, to take courageous steps, and to elevate your life beyond the ordinary. God is calling you into greatness, but this path won't be free of trials. It will require sacrifice, determination, and the courage to let go of the old and embrace the new. Yet I can assure you, what God has in store is far greater than anything you could imagine. When He stirs your heart, He is preparing you to see the fulfillment of the dreams and purposes He planted in your soul long ago. So if you are feeling that stirring today, that divine pull for something more, do not dismiss it. Do not allow it to fade. Lean into it, embrace it, let it propel you into the life God is calling you toward. He is faithful to complete what He began in you. That longing you feel is the evidence that He is leading you toward a life of purpose, abundance, and profound impact you've yet to discover. So rise to the calling, trust His timing, step into the greatness He is preparing just for you. The best is still ahead. When God is preparing to bless you beyond what you can fathom, one of the most powerful responses you can offer is obedience paired with action, even when the road ahead appears uncertain. And isn't this where so many of us struggle? The uncertainty of the future can awaken fear, doubt, and hesitation. We long for answers, for guarantees, for clear direction. But God's way often unfolds step by step. He calls us to trust Him, to move forward in faith, even when we can't see the full picture. Obedience does not require that we understand everything. It only requires that we respond with a willing heart. Consider Abraham. When God called him to leave his homeland, to walk away from everything familiar, Abraham didn't have a map or full details. All he had was God's promise, and yet he obeyed. He moved forward in faith, and because of that obedience, God blessed him in ways he could never have imagined. You see, obedience is the key that unlocks God's blessing. He is not looking for perfection or certainty. He is looking for willingness, for a heart ready to trust and move forward. This doesn't mean you won't have questions or feel fear. It simply means you trust that God's wisdom far exceeds your own, and that His plan is always for your good, even when it's hard to see. God rarely reveals the full journey at once because He desires us to trust Him in the process. He uses that trust to strengthen our character and refine our faith. Obedience, even when we don't fully understand, is one of the most powerful declarations of trust in God's sovereignty. The moment you step forward in obedience, you declare, God, I trust you, even when I cannot see where this leads. And in that moment, you invite Him to guide your steps in His perfect time. But trust alone is not enough. Faith must be accompanied by action. James 2:26 reminds us that faith without works is dead. Obedience is not a passive stance. It is an active movement toward the life God is calling you into. Even if every detail isn't clear, even if the outcome is uncertain, God asks us to move. Each small act of obedience brings you closer to the destiny He has prepared. Think of Peter. When Jesus called him to walk on water, Peter didn't wait for the sea to grow calm. He didn't wait for certainty. He stepped out of the boat and walked in obedience, and as long as he kept his eyes on Jesus, he walked in faith. But the moment fear took over, he began to sink. Likewise, God is calling you to step out of your comfort, even when the waters are rough, even when clarity is lacking. Whether you experience the miracle of walking in faith or sink into doubt depends on your willingness to obey and act. God doesn't always give us the entire plan up front. He may reveal just enough for you to take the next step, and it is your faith that carries you forward from there. He will never lead you in the wrong direction. If He is calling you to move, then He will provide the strength, the provision, and the guidance you need to continue. And here is a beautiful truth. God blesses those who act. When you take that step in obedience, even when you lack full understanding, He honors your faith. Your obedience becomes a seed planted in trust that grows into a harvest beyond what you can envision. It's a divine assurance that God will meet you in your movement. He will strengthen you, guide you, and open doors only He can open. God is not asking you to have everything figured out. He is simply asking you to trust Him enough to act. He is calling you to rise in courage, to step forward in faith, and to follow His lead. And as you do, He will prove faithful. He will fulfill His promises and bless your obedience. So take the step. Don't wait for perfect clarity. Don't delay until you feel completely ready. Move forward in faith and obedience and watch as God begins to move powerfully in your life, leading you to a purpose far greater than you ever imagined. Your future is in His hands, and He will walk with you every step of the way. There are truths in life that only a few truly understand. Truths hidden from the masses but revealed to those who have been chosen. Throughout history, God has marked His people, not with visible signs, but with spiritual seals that set them apart from the world. These marks are invisible to human eyes, yet undeniable to those who carry them. You might think that being chosen means a life of ease, filled with wealth, comfort, and luxury. But the reality is far deeper. The truly chosen ones do not measure their worth by riches or possessions, nor do they seek the fleeting pleasures of this world. Instead, they carry something far greater within them, an identity that sets them apart, a purpose that burns deep within their soul. And here's what might surprise you. Not everyone who claims to follow God is truly marked by Him. There is a clear distinction between those who merely speak His name and those who are sealed by His Spirit. The question is, do you bear these marks? Many live under the illusion that they are on the right path, convinced that faith alone is enough. But faith without evidence, without transformation, is empty. The Bible reveals that God's true children bear 7 undeniable marks, signs that cannot be faked, bought, or imitated. These marks separate the chosen from the deceived, the genuine from the false. You need to know what these marks are. You need to examine yourself in the light of God's truth, because in the end there are only 2 kinds of people, those who carry His marks and those who do not. What you are about to hear is not common knowledge. These truths are revealed only to those willing to seek, listen, and surrender to God's calling. If you are still here, it means you are searching for something deeper, something real. And I promise you, by the end of this message, you will see yourself in a way you never had before. A transformed heart. Now, I want to ask you something important. I know your time is valuable, but you are here because you are committed to the love of God. That's why I need you to take a moment and declare something powerful over your life. The Word of God has the power to transform, and when you declare something, you align yourself with that truth. So right now, write in the comments, I trust that God will give me victory to overcome every obstacle. Go ahead and declare it. I will personally acknowledge every response. A transformed heart is the first and most undeniable mark of the chosen. Without it, nothing else matters. A person can have knowledge of Scripture, be involved in religious activities, and even appear righteous before others. But if their heart remains unchanged, they do not belong to God. The Bible is clear. God does not look at outward appearances. He looks at the heart. In Ezekiel 36:26, God promises, I will give you a new heart and put a new spirit in you. I will remove from you your heart of stone and give you a heart of flesh. This is not a superficial change. It's not about modifying behavior or adopting religious rituals. It's about complete transformation from the inside out. Think of Saul, the persecutor of Christians. He was zealous in his religious pursuits, yet his heart was far from God. It wasn't until he encountered Jesus on the road to Damascus that his heart was truly transformed. He became Paul, a man whose entire life was redirected by the power of God's love. This is what happens to the chosen. They do not remain the same. The transformation of the heart is unmistakable. It changes how you love, how you speak, how you think, and how you handle wealth and success. It shifts your priorities. Before, money and luxury might have been your main pursuit, but now you see them as temporary, fleeting. You realize that true riches are not found in material possessions, but in treasures stored up in heaven. Have you ever noticed how some people, despite having all the money in the world, still feel empty? They chase after wealth, thinking it will bring them security, yet inside they remain restless. That's because riches without God leave a void that cannot be filled. But when your heart belongs to Him, even if you have little, you are rich beyond measure. When God changes a person's heart, their desires change as well. They no longer seek to glorify themselves, but to glorify God. They are no longer consumed by greed, but by a deep sense of purpose. They do not measure their worth by what they have, but by who they belong to. The chosen understand this. They know their identity is not in their status, wealth, or achievements, but in the fact that they are children of the Most High. They have been bought with a price, the blood of Jesus. And because of that, they do not live for themselves, but for the one who redeemed them. But here's something crucial. Not everyone who claims to follow God has truly experienced this transformation. Many say they believe, yet their hearts remain unchanged. They still chase after the same things the world does. They still prioritize wealth over faith, comfort over sacrifice. The chosen are different. They see through the deception of temporary pleasures and pursue what is eternal. So the question is, has your heart been transformed? Have you truly surrendered to God in a way that changes everything about you? Or are you still holding on to old patterns, old desires, and the empty promises of the world? The first mark of the chosen is a heart that no longer belongs to itself. It is a heart that has been broken, reshaped, and renewed by God's love. And when that happens, nothing remains the same. Now take a moment and reflect. Does this first mark resonate with you? Have you experienced this transformation in your own life? Because what comes next will reveal even more about what it truly means to be set apart by God. An unwavering love for the truth. There is a fundamental difference between those who casually hear the truth and those who embrace it with unwavering conviction. Many people claim to follow God, but when confronted with hard truths that challenge their comfort, ambitions, and way of life, they turn away. The chosen are different. They do not just listen to the truth, they hunger for it, even when it is inconvenient, even when it costs them everything. The Bible warns of a time when people will no longer endure sound doctrine. Instead, they will seek teachings that align with their desires, choosing comfort over conviction, preference over principle. That time is now. We see it everywhere. Messages that prioritize self over surrender, wealth over wisdom, luxury over holiness. The world tells us that love means accepting everything, but true love, the love of God, corrects, refines, and transforms. The chosen do not compromise on the truth because they understand that truth is not just an idea, it is a person. Jesus himself declared, "I am the way, the truth, and the life." John 14:6. To reject the truth is to reject him. Think about the rich young ruler. He came to Jesus seeking eternal life, convinced he was on the right path. But when Jesus told him to sell his possessions and follow him, the young man walked away sorrowful. Why? Because he loved his wealth more than he loved the truth. He wanted salvation, but not at the cost of his comfort. He wanted God, but he also wanted to keep his riches, his luxury, his status. And in the end, he chose the temporary over the eternal. The chosen are not like this. When they hear the truth, they do not shrink back. When God calls them to let go of something, they obey. They know that wealth and possessions are not evil, but when they become more important than God, they become chains. The question remains, do you love the truth even when it challenges you? Because those who are truly chosen do not seek comfort, they seek transformation. Love one and despise the other. You cannot serve both God and money. Matthew 6:24.
Does this mean God is against wealth?
No. Abraham was wealthy. Job was restored to even greater prosperity after his trials, and Solomon was given riches beyond measure. But the difference is that these men did not serve their wealth. They served God. They understood that riches are a tool, not a God. Luxury is temporary, but truth is eternal. The chosen do not measure their lives by financial success, but by their obedience to God. They do not ask, how much can I gain, but how much can I surrender? They are willing to walk away from anything that competes with their devotion to Christ. So what about you? Do you love the truth enough to let it transform you, or do you only embrace it when it aligns with your desires? Have you ever resisted God because his truth demanded something difficult? This is the second mark of the chosen. They do not bend the truth to fit their lives. They bend their lives to fit the truth. Because of this, they are unshakable. They cannot be deceived, they cannot be bought, and they will never exchange eternal riches for temporary comfort. But there is something even deeper that sets the chosen apart. Something that becomes evident in the hardest moments of life. Keep listening, because what comes next is a test that only the truly chosen can endure. Perseverance through trial. There is a painful yet undeniable reality about the chosen. They do not live easy lives. They are tested, refined, and put through the fire. Many believe that following God should bring immediate blessings, wealth, and comfort. But the Bible paints a different picture, one where those truly chosen by God walk through suffering, opposition, and trials that test their faith to its very core. Jesus himself told his disciples, "In this world you will have trouble, but take heart, I have overcome the world." John 16:33. Notice that he did not say you might have trouble, but you will. The chosen are not exempt from hardship. They are strengthened through it. Look at Job. He was a man of immense wealth, respected and prosperous, yet in a single moment he lost everything: his riches, his family, his health. But what set Job apart was not what he had, but how he responded when everything was taken from him. He refused to curse God. He refused to abandon his faith. And in the end, because of his perseverance, God restored him and blessed him even more than before. The same is true for us today. Trials come in many forms. Some lose financial stability. Others face rejection, betrayal, or even persecution for their faith. But the chosen do not give up. They understand that their suffering is not meaningless. Every hardship they endure has a purpose. God uses it to refine them, to separate the genuine from the counterfeit, to strengthen their faith so that they become unshakable. Some people follow God only when things are going well. They are faithful when their bank account is full, when their health is strong, when life is comfortable. But the moment difficulty comes, they turn away, questioning God, complaining, and losing heart. This is the difference between those who are truly chosen and those who are not. The chosen remain faithful, not because their circumstances are easy, but because their faith is real. The Bible says, "Blessed is the one who perseveres under trial, because having stood the test, that person will receive the crown of life that the Lord has promised to those who love him." James 1:12. This is the reward of perseverance. Those who endure, who do not waver, who hold on to their faith even when everything around them is falling apart. These are the ones who prove they are truly chosen. Think of Daniel. He was taken from his home, forced to live in a foreign land, surrounded by a culture that worshiped false gods. Yet he never compromised. Even when faced with the lion's den, he remained steadfast. And because of his unwavering faith, God not only delivered him, but elevated him in the eyes of kings. The same God who rescued Daniel, the same God who restored Job, is the God who walks with his chosen ones today. And here is something powerful. Trials are often a sign that you are truly chosen. The enemy does not attack those who are no threat. If you find yourself facing opposition, difficulties, and challenges that seem relentless, it may not be because you are forgotten by God, but because you are set apart by him. The world teaches that wealth, luxury, and success are the ultimate goals. But the chosen understand that true riches are not measured in money, but in faith. They do not chase after temporary prosperity. They seek eternal glory. If this message resonates with you, if you have endured trials and yet remained faithful, if you understand the cost of being chosen, then let this be your declaration. Take a moment and hit the like button. When you do, you are not just supporting this message, you are declaring that you will stand firm no matter the storm. And remember this: trials are not the end of your story. For the chosen, every hardship is leading to something greater. But there is something even deeper about those whom God has marked, something that affects every aspect of their lives, shaping not only their destiny, but the way they live each day. Keep watching, because what comes next reveals a desire that only the truly chosen possess, a desire for holiness. There is something undeniable about those who are truly chosen by God. It is not just their faith, their perseverance, or their knowledge of Scripture. It is something deeper, an unshakable desire for holiness. They do not just want to be better people, they want to be set apart. They long to be pure, to be different, to live in a way that pleases God regardless of what the world around them is doing. The Bible makes it clear, but just as he who called you is holy, so be holy in all you do. For it is written, be holy, because I am holy. 1 Peter 1:15-16. This is not a suggestion, it is a command. Holiness is not optional for the chosen, it is a defining mark of who they are. Many people believe that as long as they believe in God, they can live however they want. But the chosen understand that faith without obedience is empty. They do not pursue holiness because they fear punishment. They pursue it because they love God. Their hearts are transformed, and that transformation changes everything. The way they think, the way they speak, the way they spend their time, and yes, even the way they handle wealth, money, and success. Holiness is not about living in isolation. It is not about rejecting everything in the world or avoiding success. Some of the most faithful servants of God, Joseph, Daniel, Abraham, were people of great influence and wealth. But what set them apart was not their riches, but their commitment to purity in the midst of a corrupt world. Look at Joseph. He was thrown into a pit, sold as a slave, and later became a powerful ruler in Egypt. He had access to everything, money, power, luxury. But when faced with temptation, when Potiphar's wife tried to seduce him, he did not hesitate. He fled. Why? Because he understood that no amount of power or pleasure was worth compromising his holiness before God. This is what the chosen do. They guard their hearts. They do not play with sin. They do not try to see how close they can get to the edge without falling. They walk in purity, not because they have to, but because they want to. But here's the challenge. Holiness is costly. It often means standing alone. It means making choices that separate you from the world. That others do not understand means saying no to things the world celebrates. The world tells us to pursue pleasure, to chase after more wealth, more success, more indulgence. But the chosen are not led by their desires, they are led by the Spirit of God. And here is something powerful. Holiness is not just about what you avoid, it is about what you pursue. It is not just about staying away from sin, it is about chasing after righteousness. The chosen do not simply reject what is wrong, they cling to what is right. Have you ever felt like you do not fit in? Like the things that once satisfied you no longer do? This is the mark of someone being transformed by God. He is setting you apart, making you different. But holiness is not just about avoiding sin. It is about reflecting God's character. It is about walking in love, patience, and humility. It is about treating wealth and success not as gods, but as tools to serve Him. The chosen understand that true riches do not come from what they own, but from who they are in Christ. They do not measure their lives by their possessions, but by their obedience. This is why the world does not understand them. To the world, holiness looks like restriction, but to the chosen, it is freedom. The freedom to live without the chains of sin, without the weight of compromise, without the guilt of half-hearted devotion. But there is another mark of the chosen, something evident in every part of their lives. It is not just how they live, it is how they connect with God. Those who are truly chosen do not just believe in prayer, they depend on it. And what comes next will reveal a life of powerful prayer. There is something undeniable about those truly chosen by God. They are not just people of faith, they are people of prayer. But not just any prayer, prayer that moves mountains, shifts atmospheres, and brings heaven's will to earth. The chosen do not see prayer as a religious duty or a last resort in times of crisis. They see it as their lifeline, their connection to the very presence of God. The Bible commands us to pray without ceasing, 1 Thessalonians 5:17. But what does that really mean? Does it mean spending hours in a church repeating the same words? No. It means living in constant communication with God. It means that prayer is not just something you do, It is who you are. Look at the greatest men and women in Scripture. They were not just people of knowledge or wisdom, they were people of prayer. Daniel prayed 3 times a day, even when it meant facing death in a lion's den. Elijah prayed and fire fell from heaven. Hannah prayed and her barren womb was opened. Jesus himself, God in the flesh, constantly withdrew to pray. If Jesus, the Son of God, needed prayer, how much more do we? But here is something important. The chosen do not pray just to get things from God. They do not treat prayer like a transaction, asking only for riches, success, or luxury. They pray because they long to be in God's presence. They pray because they know that real wealth is not measured in money, but in intimacy with Him. Many see prayer as a way to get more money, more influence, more success. But the chosen see prayer as a way to give more of themselves, more of their hearts, more of their devotion. They are not focused on what God can do for them. They are focused on how they can align themselves with His will. Because of this, their prayers carry power. They are not weak, empty words. They are declarations of faith that shake the kingdom of darkness. But here is something few realize. The greatest prayers are often born in the deepest struggles. The chosen learn to pray not in moments of comfort, but in moments of desperation, when everything is falling apart, when they have no money, no security, no way out. This is when they press into God the most. Look at Job. After losing everything, his wealth, his family, his health, he did not turn away from God. He fell to the ground in worship. He cried out, but he did not curse. He questioned, but he did not abandon his faith. And in the end, because he remained faithful in prayer, God restored everything to him, and even more. This is the difference between the chosen and everyone else. The chosen do not pray only when things are good. They pray when things are falling apart. They pray when they do not understand. They pray when the world tells them to give up. Because of that, their faith is unshakable. But here is the question: what does your prayer life look like? Is it strong, consistent, and filled with faith? Or is it something you turn to only when you need something? Do you pray with boldness, knowing that God hears you? Or do you hesitate, unsure if your words really make a difference? The chosen know the truth. Prayer is not just about changing situations, it is about changing them. It molds their hearts, aligns their desires with God's, and strengthens their faith. This is why they never stop praying. But there is still more that sets the chosen apart. It is not just their faith, their holiness, or their prayers. There is something even greater, something that proves without a doubt who truly belongs to God. What comes next will reveal the unmistakable evidence of who the chosen really are. The fruit of the Spirit. There is something that cannot be faked, something that separates the truly chosen from those who only claim to follow God. It is not how much scripture they know, how often they go to church, or how many religious words they speak. It is something deeper, something that flows naturally from their lives. It is the fruit of the Spirit. Jesus made it clear, by their fruit you will recognize them, Matthew 7:16. The chosen are not identified by their words, but by the evidence of their transformation. This evidence is not material wealth, status, or luxury. It is love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control 10,000 years ago. Now, this is too big for me to tell you right now, but I think we can get through. Think about it. You can tell a tree by its fruit. An apple tree does not need to announce that it is an apple tree. You simply see the apples growing on it. In the same way, those who are truly chosen by God do not need to prove it with arguments or titles. Their lives speak louder than their words. The problem today is that many believe being chosen means having external success. They think it means having riches, influence, and comfort. But the Bible does not say by their wealth you will recognize them. It does not say by their social status you will recognize them. It says by their fruit. Look at the life of Jesus. He did not come to earth as a wealthy king. He did not seek power or luxury. He walked in humility, love, and sacrifice. He had no home, no riches, no earthly throne. And yet he carried more power than any ruler, more authority than any king. Why? Because he bore the fruit of the Spirit in its purest form. The chosen are the same. They do not seek validation from the world. They do not measure success by money, fame, or possessions. Instead, they measure it by how much they reflect Christ. But bearing fruit is not always easy. It requires surrender. It requires dying to self. Jesus said, unless a grain of wheat falls to the ground and dies, it remains alone. But if it dies, it produces much fruit. John 12:24. The chosen understand this. They know that to truly live, they must first die to their selfish desires, their pride, the things that once controlled them. And when they do, something amazing happens. They begin to love in ways they never thought possible. They find joy even in suffering. They walk in peace even when everything around them is in chaos. They become patient, kind, faithful. They do not just believe in God, they become living proof of His presence. But in actions, when the fruit of the Spirit is present, there is no denying who you truly belong to. Now, I want to ask you to do something powerful. If this message has spoken to you, if you know someone who needs to hear this truth, take a moment and share this video. You never know how much one message can change a life. Yet there is still one final mark of the chosen that seals everything we have spoken about. It is the ultimate proof, the undeniable sign that separates God's people from the rest of the world. If you have this, you can be sure that you belong to Him. Get ready, because what comes next will reveal the most powerful truth yet, the seal of God. There is one final mark that distinguishes the chosen from the rest of the world. It is not something you can buy, fake, or achieve through human effort. It is something that only God Himself can place upon His people. It is the seal of God. The Bible makes it clear, and do not grieve the Holy Spirit of God with whom you were sealed for the day of redemption, Ephesians 4:30. This seal is not a visible mark, but it is undeniable. It is the evidence that a person belongs to God, that they have been set apart for something greater, that they carry an eternal identity that cannot be erased. Throughout Scripture, God has always marked His people. In the Old Testament, He set Israel apart, giving them laws and commands that made them distinct from the surrounding nations. In the New Testament, He marked His followers with the Holy Spirit, a seal that identified them as His own. And in the last days, the book of Revelation speaks of a final sealing where God's people will be unmistakably separated from the rest of the world. This seal is not for everyone. It is not given to those who simply claim to believe. It is given to those who live in obedience, who walk in faith, who surrender fully to the will of God. Many people want the benefits of being chosen, but few are willing to pay the price of true discipleship. Look at Noah. He lived in a time of great wickedness, a time when the entire world had turned away from God. Yet, because he was faithful, because he walked in obedience, God sealed him inside the ark, protecting him from the judgment that came upon the earth. The same is true today. The world is moving further away from God. People are chasing after riches, success, and luxury, believing that these things will bring them security. But in the end, only those who are sealed by God will stand. Only those who truly belong to Him will endure. This seal is not about religion. It is not about following rules or tradition. It is about relationships. It is about knowing God personally, walking with Him daily, being filled with His Spirit, and living according to His will. The chosen understand this. They do not put their trust in money, possessions, or human achievements. They trust in God alone. They know that their true wealth is not in what they own, but in who owns them. But here is something you need to understand. Being sealed by God does not mean you will not face trials. It does not mean you will not be tested. In fact, the enemy will fight even harder against those who carry this mark. But no attack, no challenge, no storm can remove what God has placed upon you. This is why the chosen walk with confidence. They do not live in fear because they know they belong to God. They do not compromise because they know they have been set apart. They do not seek the approval of the world because they already carry the approval of the only one who truly matters. And now the question is this: do you have this seal? Have you truly surrendered your life to God in a way that marks you forever? Or have you been living with one foot in the world and one foot in the faith? The time is coming when the difference between the chosen and the rest of the world will be unmistakable, and when that day comes, there will be no middle ground. You will either be sealed by God or marked by the world. So take this moment to reflect. This is not about fear, it is about truth. It is about knowing where you stand. It is about making a choice that will define your eternity. And now, everything we have spoken about leads to one final conclusion, one that will challenge you, inspire you, and call you to something greater. Because knowing these marks is not enough. You must decide what you will do with this knowledge. And what comes next is a decision that only you can make. Now that you have seen the 7 marks of the chosen, the question is no longer whether they exist, but whether they exist in you. Have you truly been set apart? Do you bear these undeniable signs of belonging to God? This is not about simply believing in God. Even demons believe, and they tremble, James 2:19. This is about surrender, about transformation, about living a life that unmistakably reflects His presence. The chosen are not defined by words, but by action. They do not speak of faith, they walk in it. They do not just acknowledge the truth, they are shaped by it. Look back at the 7 marks: a transformed heart, an unwavering love for truth, perseverance through trials, a desire for holiness, a life of powerful prayer, the fruit of the Spirit, and ultimately the seal of God. These are not characteristics that can be faked. They are the result of a life fully surrendered to God. So ask yourself, do these marks define me? If not, then now is the time to change. Now is the time to stop living in half commitment, to stop holding on to things that pull you away from God. Because the truth is this: there will come a time when it will be too late to decide. The Bible warns us that the day is coming when the wheat will be separated from the weeds, when the faithful will be set apart from the faithless, and in that moment only those who truly belong to God will stand. But here is the good news: God is calling you today. He is giving you the opportunity to step into your true identity, to walk in the fullness of His calling, to become everything He created you to be. So now I ask you, what will you do with this knowledge? Will you ignore it and continue living as you have? Or will you allow it to transform you? This is your moment. This is your opportunity to align yourself with God's will like never before. And if this message has spoken to you, if you feel God stirring something in your heart, then take action right now. Subscribe to this channel so you can continue receiving powerful revelations that will strengthen your faith. Like this video if you are ready to walk as one of the chosen, and most importantly, share this message with someone who needs to hear it. Because the truth you just received is not meant to stay with you, it is meant to reach others. And before you go, watch the next video that is appearing on your screen. It will take you even deeper into this journey of understanding what it truly means to be set apart by God. This is your calling. This is your moment. Step into it. Have you ever experienced the sting of betrayal, the kind that fractures your trust, shatters your heart, and leaves you questioning your worth? Just as you begin to heal, they reappear, empty-handed, full of old promises. They knock on the very door they once slammed in your face, and your heart whispers, maybe they've changed. But listen carefully. It's not about what they say, it's about what they did. You owe it to yourself to see the reality, not the illusion. You don't need another cycle of pain. You need clarity. strength, and peace. When someone who has hurt you re-enters your life, the first step is to step back and evaluate their true intentions with a discerning mind. This isn't a moment for nostalgia, wishful thinking, or blind hope. It's a moment for deep reflection and unflinching honesty. Understanding their real motives is not just about shielding yourself from potential harm, but about safeguarding your peace, progress, and self-worth. People often return after causing pain, not because they suddenly recognize your value or genuinely regret their actions, but because they feel a void in their own lives. Loneliness can be a powerful motivator. Perhaps the grass wasn't greener on the other side. Perhaps the people they turned to couldn't provide the comfort, loyalty, or love you once gave so freely. Their return might feel like validation of your worth, but be careful not to mistake their emptiness for genuine remorse. The two are not the same. Others come back seeking to ease their guilt. When they hurt you, whether through neglect, betrayal, or selfishness, they likely carry the weight of that wrongdoing. But here's the hard truth. Their guilt is not your responsibility to resolve. If they return simply to unburden themselves, to hear you say it's okay, or to seek forgiveness without offering tangible change, their return is more about them than it is about you. Pay attention to whether their actions are self-serving or reflect a true desire to make amends. Convenience can also play a significant role in why someone reappears. When life becomes difficult and their options narrow, they may remember the comfort and stability you once provided. You might have been their safe harbor, their emotional anchor. But you must ask yourself, are they coming back because they now truly see your worth, or because it's easier to return to you than to face the challenges of building something new? There is a vast difference between being chosen for convenience and being chosen out of genuine love and respect. Some people return when they can no longer control you from a distance. When you begin to move on, when your healing becomes visible and your growth undeniable, it threatens their sense of power. They might reach out, not out of love or reconciliation, but to reassert their influence, to remind you of the connection you once shared, or to keep you within their grasp. This is especially true when the person thrived on manipulation or emotional control. Their return isn't about treating you right, it's about maintaining a hold over you. Nostalgia can also drive their return. Time has a way of softening memories, painting even the most painful relationships in a rosier light. They might recall the laughter, the love, the shared moments, while conveniently forgetting the pain they caused. But nostalgia is a poor guide for making decisions about the future. Memories can be deceptive for both them and you. If they are returning because they are clinging to an idealized past, it is crucial to remind yourself of the full picture. The joy and the wounds, the love and the betrayals. One of the most challenging aspects of understanding someone's true intentions is separating their words from their actions. People often return armed with apologies, promises, and declarations of love. They may say everything you've ever wanted to hear, weaving a story of regret and transformation. But words, no matter how eloquent, are not enough. True intentions are revealed through consistent, meaningful action over time. Look closely. Are they making an effort to understand how they hurt you? Are they taking concrete steps to rebuild trust? Or are they relying on empty promises, hoping their words alone will be enough to win you back? It is equally important to consider whether their return aligns with your needs and boundaries. If they truly care about you, they will respect your healing process. They won't rush you or pressure you to accept them back on their terms. Instead, they will show patience, humility, and a willingness to put in the work. If their return feels rushed, if they dismiss your concerns or try to downplay the pain they caused, it's a sign their intentions may not be as pure as they claim. A deeper layer to understanding their motives is examining past patterns of behavior. Have they done this before? Have they left and come back multiple times, creating a cycle of hurt and reconciliation? If so, their return might not signify change, but rather a continuation of that cycle. People who have truly changed will not only acknowledge their past mistakes, but will take proactive steps to ensure they never repeat them. Ultimately, understanding their true motives requires you to listen to your intuition. Deep down, you often know when someone's actions don't match their words. You feel it in the pit of your stomach, in the quiet moments when doubt lingers. Don't ignore those feelings. They are your internal warning system, guiding you toward the truth. Trust yourself to recognize when someone's intentions are sincere and when they are not. Taking the time to evaluate their real intentions isn't just about protecting yourself from further harm. It's about reclaiming your power, honoring your worth, and refusing to settle for anything less than you deserve. You are not obligated to welcome someone back simply because they've returned. Their intentions, no matter how well disguised, cannot override your right to peace, happiness, and respect. When someone who hurt you re-enters your life, take a moment to reflect on why they left in the first place. This isn't about holding on to resentment or reopening old wounds. It's about clarity. People leave for a variety of reasons, and often those reasons say more about them than they do about you. To move forward wisely, you must confront those truths, no matter how painful. When they left, it may have felt like rejection, as if it were a statement about your worth. But often, people don't leave because you were lacking. They leave because they were. Maybe they weren't ready for the depth of what you were offering. Maybe your love illuminated parts of themselves they weren't ready to face. Emotionally immature individuals often run from the very thing they claim to want. Their departure wasn't about you not being enough. It was about them not being capable of meeting the standard your love required. For some, leaving is about avoidance. They don't want to face hard conversations, accountability, or the effort a real relationship demands. When conflict arises, rather than working through it, they take the easy way out. This kind of departure leaves you with unanswered questions, but remember, avoidance is not a sign of strength or independence, it's a sign of emotional immaturity. Others leave because they believe the grass is greener elsewhere. This is painful because it makes you question your worth, but understand this. When someone leaves in search of something better, it reflects their own unmet desires and unrealistic expectations. They fail to realize that true happiness isn't found in chasing novelty. It's cultivated in growth, commitment, and understanding. Some people leave to maintain control. When they sense you growing stronger, they may return, not out of love, but to regain the upper hand. It's crucial to recognize these dynamics for what they are. Others leave because they simply weren't invested enough. Their return should make you question whether they genuinely value you now or simply took you for granted before. In the end, understanding why they left helps you determine whether their return is meaningful or merely a repetition of the past. Be wise, be strong, and most of all, remember you deserve more than recycled love. You deserve something real. When someone returns after leaving, it is essential to question whether their comeback stems from genuine growth and understanding or merely a fear of being alone. Often, people walk away for selfish reasons, prioritizing their desires, ambitions, or personal needs over the relationship, with little regard for how their actions impact you. Whether their departure was due to infidelity, dishonesty, or neglect, the fact remains that they made a choice, one that placed their interests above your well-being. When they return, promising they have changed, it is crucial to assess whether their shift is genuine or if it is just a temporary desire for comfort. Understanding why they left also means acknowledging the emotional toll their absence took on you. This is not about dwelling on the pain, but recognizing how their decision affected your trust, confidence, and self-worth. Wounds caused by their departure do not simply vanish because they decide to come back. Evaluating their return is about determining whether their presence now contributes to your healing or risks reopening old scars. An apology, no matter how heartfelt, is not enough. True change is reflected in their actions. Actions that demonstrate an awareness of the pain they caused and a commitment to doing better. It is also necessary to be honest with yourself about what you truly need and deserve. Their departure may have revealed incompatibilities, unresolved issues, or warning signs you previously ignored. Use this reflection as a chance to clarify your boundaries and priorities. When they return, you will be better equipped to assess whether their presence aligns with the life and love you want for yourself. When someone who has hurt you comes back, they often bring words of apology, regret, and promises of change. They will say they are sorry, that they have grown, and that things will be different. It is tempting to believe these words, especially when they echo the hopes you have been holding on to. However, words require little effort and can be spoken without true commitment. If you are to protect yourself, you must look beyond what they say and focus on what they do. Actions reveal the truth that words often disguise. People use words to manipulate emotions, especially when they feel they are losing their grip on you. They know what you long to hear and how to phrase it in a way that stirs your heart. Apologies can be rehearsed, promises can be made in moments of desperation, and declarations of love can be wielded as weapons to lower your defenses. When they claim to have changed, ask yourself, what evidence have you seen? True growth is not an overnight transformation or a realization that they miss you. It is a process requiring time, effort, and consistency. Without tangible actions supporting their claims, their words are nothing more than a performance. Testing their actions means observing how they behave, not just in grand gestures, but in the small, everyday moments that reveal their true character. Are they following through on their commitments? Are they respecting your boundaries and truly listening to your concerns? Are they making an effort to understand how they hurt you and ensuring it does not happen again? Real change is not about extravagant promises. It is about the difficult ongoing work of rebuilding trust and demonstrating accountability. Another critical aspect of change is accountability. Do they take full responsibility for their past actions, or do they deflect, minimize, or make excuses? Genuine accountability means acknowledging the hurt they caused without shifting blame or expecting instant forgiveness. If they are truly committed to making amends, their actions will reflect a willingness to earn your trust rather than demand it. They will not pressure you to move on before you are ready, nor will they act as though their return should automatically erase the past. Equally important is how they respond to your boundaries. Setting boundaries is essential in protecting your emotional well-being after someone has hurt you. If they are serious about rebuilding the relationship, they will respect these boundaries without resistance or guilt-tripping. They will not pressure you to let them back in on their terms or manipulate you into lowering your guard. Instead, they will exhibit patience and understanding, recognizing that regaining your trust is a privilege, not a right. Consistency is a key indicator of true change. Doing the right thing once or twice is easy. Real transformation is demonstrated through steady, unwavering integrity. If their behavior is inconsistent, attentive, and respectful one moment, but distant or dismissive the next, it suggests that their actions do not align with their words. True change is not sporadic or conditional. It is a continuous effort that builds trust over time. Conflict is another revealing test. In the past, they may have responded to challenges by walking away, lashing out, or shutting down. If they claim to have grown, their approach to conflict should reflect that growth. Are they willing to engage in difficult conversations without becoming defensive? Do they listen to your perspective and take responsibility for their role in past issues? The way they handle conflict now will indicate whether they have developed the emotional maturity needed for a healthy, lasting relationship. Observing how they treat others is just as important. When trying to win someone back, people often put on a facade. However, their true character is revealed in their interactions with those around them. Are they consistently kind and respectful? Or do they display patterns of selfishness, entitlement, or disregard for others? How they treat people in everyday situations provides valuable insight into whether their behavior aligns with the values they claim to uphold. Additionally, it is crucial to evaluate whether they have taken steps to address the root causes of their past behavior. If their departure was due to unresolved personal struggles such as insecurity, fear of commitment, or poor communication, have they actively worked to resolve these issues? Genuine growth requires effort and intentionality. Without addressing underlying problems, their return is unlikely to lead to a different outcome. You must also consider whether their actions align with your needs and priorities. It is not enough for them to simply want to return. They need to show a genuine commitment to supporting your well-being and contributing to a healthy relationship. Are they making an effort to understand your needs and meet them consistently? Are they prioritizing your emotional safety and demonstrating that they value your happiness? Their actions should reflect a desire for a partnership built on mutual respect, not one-sided expectation. Trust your instincts. Your intuition often picks up on subtle cues that logic may overlook. If something about their behavior feels off, do not dismiss those feelings. Your gut is a powerful tool for discerning whether their actions align with their words. Pay attention to how their presence makes you feel. Do you feel safe, valued, and respected? Or do you feel uneasy, uncertain, and mistrustful? Testing their actions means observing both what they show you and how their actions resonate with you on a deeper level. Setting clear boundaries is not about shutting people out, but about creating a space where you can be your authentic self, free from manipulation, disrespect, or emotional harm. When someone who has hurt you returns, it is natural to feel tempted to give them another chance. However, without boundaries, you risk reopening old wounds or repeating unhealthy patterns. Boundaries serve as your armor, ensuring that you receive the respect and care you deserve. The first step in setting boundaries is recognizing your right to define the terms of your relationships. You are not obligated to accept someone back simply because they return. Saying no is not a sign of weakness or unforgiveness. It is an act of self-care. You are not required to welcome someone back into your life just because they regret their actions. Instead, you must ask whether their return aligns with your healing, growth, and the future you are building for yourself. A critical part of boundary setting is identifying your needs. What do you require to feel safe? What do you need to maintain your peace? Boundaries are not about punishment, but about safeguarding your emotional and mental well-being. You are responsible for your own healing and happiness, not for how the other person reacts to your boundaries. Once you have identified your needs, communicate them clearly and firmly. Boundaries that are not communicated are easily disregarded. Do not apologize for asserting what you need, nor should you feel guilty for protecting your peace. You deserve relationships that honor your worth. To feel safe and respected, it can be tempting to accommodate others or downplay your needs in an effort to keep the peace. But doing so only leads to resentment and emotional exhaustion. Be clear about what you will and will not tolerate and stand firm in your decisions. If someone is truly invested in rebuilding a relationship with you, they will respect your boundaries. If they disregard them, it is a clear sign that they are not ready to be a positive force in your life. One of the most powerful aspects of setting boundaries is granting yourself permission to prioritize your own needs. When someone re-enters your life, it is natural to focus on their feelings, to seek to understand their perspective, and to accommodate their requests. But in doing so, you risk losing sight of your own needs and desires. Setting boundaries means placing your well-being at the forefront and recognizing that your feelings are just as important as theirs. You do not need to sacrifice your emotional safety or happiness for someone else's comfort. Boundaries also serve as a reminder that respect is not optional. It is fundamental to any healthy relationship. Respect goes beyond simply avoiding harmful behavior. It is about honoring each other's emotional space and needs. When someone has hurt you, It is crucial to establish boundaries that reflect the respect you deserve. If they refuse to meet those boundaries, it reveals that their return is not about growth or making amends, but rather about seeking something from you without considering your needs. Setting boundaries requires self-awareness. You must understand your emotional triggers, vulnerabilities, and the patterns that led to the hurt in the first place. By recognizing your emotional limits, you can create boundaries aligned with your needs. If past interactions with this person involved emotional manipulation or gaslighting, your boundary might be to avoid conversations that feel emotionally charged or manipulative. If they have shown a pattern of disrespect, your boundary might be to only engage in discussions that are calm and respectful, with clear agreements about how you both will treat each other moving forward. It is also important to recognize that setting boundaries is not a one-time event. It is an ongoing practice. As you continue to engage with someone who has hurt you, your needs and boundaries may evolve. You may feel more or less comfortable with certain interactions over time, and that is okay. Your boundaries should always reflect your current emotional state and your ongoing healing process. If someone crosses a boundary, it is essential to reinforce it consistently and kindly. Allowing small violations to slide can lead to bigger issues later. Be prepared for pushback. People who have hurt you in the past may not immediately understand or accept your boundaries, and that is okay. They may argue, become defensive, or try to manipulate you into lowering your standards. Their reaction is not a reflection of your worth or your right to set boundaries. It is a reflection of their inability to respect your emotional needs. Stay firm in your commitment to protecting yourself. It is not your responsibility to make them comfortable with your decisions. It is your responsibility to ensure you are at peace with the choices you make. Setting boundaries also means being prepared to walk away if your needs are not met. If someone continues to disrespect your boundaries or refuses to acknowledge your emotional needs, you have the right to disengage. Walking away is not an act of punishment. It is an act of self-preservation. You are not responsible for their emotional reaction to your boundaries, but you are responsible for protecting your mental and emotional health. If someone truly values you, they will respect your boundaries, even if it takes time for them to fully understand their importance. Boundaries are not just about protecting yourself from others. They are about protecting your peace and ability to move forward. When you set clear boundaries, you create space for healing. You gain the emotional distance needed to assess the situation, determine whether this person deserves a place in your life again, and decide what kind of relationship you want to cultivate. Boundaries allow you to make decisions from a place of clarity rather than from emotional pressure or past attachments. In doing so, you not only protect your emotional well-being, but also empower yourself to build relationships that honor your worth. When someone who has hurt you returns, it can be tempting to let them in again. Their words, apologies, and promises of change can feel convincing, even genuine. But the truth is, your healing is far more important than their return. It always will be. Prioritizing your healing means creating a foundation built not on hope or fleeting emotions, but on strength, self-respect, and the recognition that you deserve to move forward in a way that serves you. The first step in valuing your healing is acknowledging that it must be your priority. Above the person who hurt you, above their apologies, above your own guilt or longing for closure, you have worked hard to heal. You have invested time, effort, tears, and deep self-reflection to rebuild yourself. Allowing someone back in without regard for how it may impact your healing risks undoing all the progress you have made. Their return could drag you back into the chaos, confusion, and hurt you have fought to escape. You must ask yourself, do you value your growth, your peace, and your future? Or do you want to relive the hurt because it feels familiar? Healing should never depend on someone else's actions. It is easy to believe that their return, their acknowledgement of the pain they caused, or their apology will make you whole again. But healing comes from within, not from someone else's approval. The power to heal is within you. If you place your healing in someone else's hands, you give them control over your emotional state, waiting for them to decide if you get to be whole again. But you have already been through that. You have already given someone the power to hurt you. Now, you have the opportunity to take that power back. Healing is not linear. It is not simply about getting over the hurt. It is about learning, growing, and evolving. It means embracing every emotion, the anger, sadness, and fear, and giving yourself the space to feel them without judgment. Healing requires patience, compassion, and most importantly, time. You cannot rush healing just as you cannot rush growth. The longer you prioritize your healing over someone else's return, the more space you allow yourself to fully recover. When someone who hurt you returns promising they have changed, it is natural to want to believe them. After all, who does not want to believe in second chances? But healing is about more than emotional closure. It is about learning from past experiences and using them to build a stronger version of yourself. If you focus too much on their return, you risk minimizing the lessons you have learned. You risk ignoring the red flags and patterns that caused you pain before. Value your healing by focusing on what it has taught you, what boundaries you established, what strengths you uncovered, and how you have grown. Healing is not about erasing the past, but integrating it into who you are now. Every tear, every sleepless night, every moment of doubt has shaped you into someone stronger and more resilient. Prioritizing your healing empowers you to make choices from a place of self-respect rather than emotional dependence. You no longer need external validation. You are already whole. There will be moments when you feel the urge to let them back in, moments of loneliness, moments of doubt, but remind yourself that your peace and well-being are worth more than temporary comfort. Relationships should never come at the expense of your mental health. If someone truly cares about you, they will respect your healing process. They will understand that your growth cannot be rushed or compromised. By valuing your healing, you break free from the patterns that once caused you pain. You no longer seek closure from those who hurt you. You find it within yourself. You move forward not because they finally see your worth, but because you do. You rise, not with anger, but with peace. And in doing so, you step fully into the life that was always meant for you. If you allow someone back into your life without considering how it affects your emotional recovery, you risk falling into old habits, familiar dynamics, and repetitive patterns of behavior. You jeopardize the progress you've made and reopen wounds that have already begun to heal. However, when you make your healing a priority, you establish an emotional safeguard that prevents you from returning to a place that no longer serves you. You learn to discern when someone's return is an opportunity for growth and when it is merely an invitation to repeat the past. There is power in choosing yourself and prioritizing your healing. No matter how strong the temptation is to let them back in, you have already invested so much in your own well-being, growth, and happiness. Do not let someone's return undo that hard work. Do not allow their desires to dictate your emotional state. Your healing is sacred, personal, and entirely yours. By prioritizing it, you send a clear message to yourself and the world. You are worthy of respect, deserving of peace, and committed to moving forward, no matter how difficult it may seem at times. If you let someone back into your life without valuing your healing, you risk losing yourself again. You risk giving them the power to unravel your progress, pulling you back into uncertainty and into a place where you once felt small, powerless, or unimportant. But when you hold your healing above all else, you preserve your sense of self, inner strength, and commitment to the life you are building. You protect your heart and soul from further harm and shape a future defined by your growth, not by the people who come and go. When someone who has hurt you returns, it is natural to want to believe they have changed. After all, they ask for another chance, their words filled with promises of growth, regret, and transformation. However, words alone mean little when it comes to true change. It is easy to say the right things, but much harder to alter the behaviors, attitudes, and patterns that caused harm in the first place. If you have been hurt before, recognizing genuine change is crucial to protecting yourself and making decisions in your best interest. When someone re-enters your life, evaluate their actions rather than their words. True change is demonstrated through what they do, not what they say. Words can be persuasive, sounding sincere, heartfelt, and full of remorse, but they do not heal past damage. If someone truly wishes to be part of your life again, they must prove their commitment through consistent, meaningful actions. Promises without proof are empty, and it is vital to remember that words hold value only when supported by corresponding behaviors. Seeking closure or reassurance is natural, but placing blind faith in promises can leave you vulnerable to the same pain. The hurt you have endured should remind you that actions speak louder than words. And it is those actions that must guide your decision about allowing someone back into your life. The first sign of true change is consistency. Transformation does not happen overnight, nor is it about temporary good behavior or fleeting acts of kindness. Real growth is a gradual process requiring time, effort, and dedication. If someone who has hurt you claims they have changed, you need to observe a sustained pattern of positive change. A person who genuinely wishes to make amends will consistently show improvement, not just when they know you are watching. Examine their behavior over time rather than in isolated moments of charm or apology. Do they continue to demonstrate respect, kindness, and understanding? Are their efforts consistent, or do they fade once they regain your trust? True change is about long-term effort, not short-term manipulation. Another key indicator of genuine transformation is accountability. A person who has truly changed does not avoid taking responsibility for their past mistakes. They do not blame you, external circumstances, or other factors for the harm they caused. Instead, they acknowledge their actions, recognize the pain they inflicted, and sincerely strive to make things right. Accountability means demonstrating a willingness to learn from mistakes, confronting personal flaws, and taking deliberate steps to avoid repeating harmful behavior. When someone claims to have changed, ask yourself, are they taking full responsibility for their actions, or are they deflecting, minimizing, or rationalizing their past behavior? True change comes from honesty, self-reflection, and a willingness to take ownership without making excuses or shifting blame. Observing whether they have made real efforts to grow is equally important. Growth is a continuous process that demands self-awareness, a willingness to challenge old habits, and the courage to address personal shortcomings. If someone who hurt you returns, there should be clear evidence of self-improvement, whether through seeking guidance, working on personal issues, or developing better communication skills. If no effort has been made to change, the same harmful patterns will likely repeat. Transformation is intentional, not accidental. If they have not actively worked on becoming a better person, they may be seeking comfort or validation rather than genuine change. You deserve someone who is committed to growth, not someone hoping you will accept them as they are without any effort to change the behavior that once caused you pain. Empathy is another fundamental aspect of true change. A person who has genuinely transformed will deeply understand the pain they caused. They will acknowledge your emotions, recognize the impact of their actions, and express genuine concern for your well-being. Empathy is not just about saying, "I'm sorry." It is about truly grasping the weight of their behavior and the lasting effects it has had on you. When evaluating change, consider how they treat your feelings. Do they validate your emotions or dismiss them to focus on their own? Do they show care for your healing, or are they only concerned with their desires? True change is rooted in empathy, and it is essential to look for this quality before letting someone back into your life. Trust, once broken, is not easily repaired. If someone has hurt you, they must prove they are worthy of your trust again. Trust is not something to be given freely or based solely on promises. It is rebuilt through consistent actions that demonstrate reliability, integrity, and honesty. A person who is truly changed will not expect trust without proof. They will show through their behavior that they are dependable and that their words align with their actions. If they demand trust without earning it, they are asking too much. Rebuilding trust takes time and effort, requiring sustained consistency in their actions. One of the strongest indicators of genuine change is their respect for your boundaries. Someone who has hurt you in the past may have disregarded your limits or taken advantage of your trust. True change means recognizing past violations and committing to respecting your boundaries moving forward. A person who truly values you will listen to your needs, honor your limits, and avoid repeating past mistakes. If someone disregards your boundaries or makes excuses for not respecting them, it is a sign they have not genuinely changed. Real transformation includes honoring your emotional well-being and ensuring their actions align with your boundaries. Pay attention to how they respond to your growth. If you have healed and grown stronger, a person who truly wants to reconnect will celebrate your progress rather than feel threatened by it. They will support your evolution even if it forces them to confront their own shortcomings. Someone who has not changed may try to diminish your growth, fearing it highlights their own stagnation. Genuine change means respecting your journey and encouraging your continued healing, even if it means they no longer fit into your life the way they once did. True transformation is not about perfection, it is about growth, accountability, empathy, consistency, and respect. When someone who has hurt you returns, observe these qualities in their actions. You deserve to be with people committed to self-improvement, who show integrity and sincerity, and who respect the person you have become. Words may sound reassuring, but actions reveal the truth. Watch closely and trust the process of observing change over time. Only then can you determine whether their return reflects genuine transformation or merely a repetition of past patterns. Choosing yourself is the greatest act of self-love and respect. It is not selfish or unkind, it is recognizing your worth, honoring your boundaries, and protecting your peace. When someone from your past returns, emotions and memories may pull you in, but ultimately you must choose yourself and never apologize for doing so. One of the most important decisions you will ever make is choosing yourself. There is something profoundly powerful about consciously deciding to put yourself first without hesitation and without guilt. For too long, many of us have been conditioned to prioritize the needs of others over our own. We are taught to be selfless, to nurture, to care, and to always be available for others, often at the expense of our mental, emotional, and physical health. But the truth is, if you do not take care of yourself, you cannot truly take care of anyone else. The only way to love and give to others in a meaningful way is to first love and give to yourself, which means choosing yourself unapologetically. When someone who has hurt you returns, they may expect you to open your heart to them immediately, to forgive without question, and to welcome them back into your life. They may hope you will forget the pain they cause, overlook the scars, and move forward as if nothing happened. But the reality is you owe no one your time, energy, or forgiveness if they have not earned it. You do not need to explain yourself, justify your actions, or feel guilty for making the choice to protect yourself. Choosing yourself means you are no longer willing to sacrifice your well-being for the comfort of others. It means understanding that your peace and happiness are more important than the opinions or desires of those who have not treated you with the respect you deserve. One of the hardest parts of choosing yourself is letting go of the guilt that often accompanies it. Many of us have been raised to always consider the feelings of others, even when it comes at a personal cost. We feel guilty for saying no, for setting boundaries, and for prioritizing our own needs. But the truth is, guilt is often a tool used by others to manipulate us into sacrificing our happiness for their convenience. When someone who has hurt you returns, they may try to make you feel guilty for not welcoming them with open arms. They may insist that you should forgive and forget, let go of the past and move forward. But you do not owe them that. The only guilt you should feel is the guilt of not protecting your peace, of not standing up for your happiness, and of not honoring the boundaries essential for your healing. Choosing yourself means being firm about your boundaries. Boundaries are not negotiable, nor are they something that can be disregarded for someone else's convenience. They are essential for your emotional, mental, and physical well-being and must be respected at all costs. When someone who has hurt you returns, they must respect your boundaries if they wish to have a place in your life. If they cannot, then they are not worth your time, energy, or heart. You do not need to apologize for setting boundaries, nor should you feel guilty for enforcing them. Boundaries are a form of self-respect, and when you choose yourself, you honor those boundaries without hesitation or apology. Choosing yourself also means recognizing your worth and refusing to settle for less than you deserve. When someone who has hurt you returns, they may offer the same empty promises, the same false hopes, and the same hollow apologies, but if you have truly chosen yourself, you will see through the illusion. You will recognize that you deserve far more than the treatment you have previously accepted. You are worthy of love, respect, and kindness, and you should never settle for anything less. When you choose yourself, you refuse to tolerate disrespect, dishonesty, or manipulation. You understand that you deserve to be treated with the same love, care, and attention that you give to others. Choosing yourself means no longer accepting anything that falls short of what you truly deserve. It is also about knowing when to let go. Letting go is often one of the hardest aspects of choosing yourself. We become attached to people, relationships, the idea of what could have been, and the hope that things will change. But sometimes, the best thing you can do for yourself is to walk away. Walking away does not mean you are giving up or that you do not care. It means you value yourself enough to stop investing in something that no longer serves you. If someone who has hurt you returns, you may feel tempted to give them another chance, to believe they have changed and to hope they deserve another shot. But if their return only brings back old pain, if their actions show they have not changed, and if they refuse to respect your boundaries, it is time to let go. Releasing someone who has hurt you is not a sign of weakness, but of strength. It shows you are strong enough to walk away from what no longer aligns with your well-being and best interests. Choosing yourself also means embracing your healing. Healing is a deeply personal journey, one that only you can take responsibility for. No one else can heal you, nor should they be expected to. Healing takes time, patience, and a deep commitment to self-care. When someone who has hurt you returns, it may be tempting to allow them to be part of your healing process, but your healing must come first. You must focus on your growth, your peace, and your well-being before considering allowing them back into your life. Choosing yourself means recognizing that your healing is a priority and should never be compromised for anyone else. It also requires trusting your instincts. Your intuition is often the best guide when deciding who to let into your life and who to keep out. When someone who has hurt you returns, your instincts will likely tell you whether they have truly changed. Trust those instincts, even if they go against what others say or what your heart desires. Emotions can cloud judgment, but your instincts are rooted in wisdom and will never lead you astray. Choosing yourself means listening to your gut and making choices aligned with your highest good. Finally, choosing yourself means learning to love yourself unconditionally. It means embracing who you are, flaws and all, and understanding that you are deserving of love and respect. Choosing yourself is not about perfection, but about self-acceptance, honoring your worth, and refusing to settle for anything less than what truly brings you peace and happiness. When you choose yourself, you affirm that you are worthy of love, peace, respect, and joy, and you refuse to tolerate anything that takes away from that. Choosing yourself is not always easy, especially when someone who has hurt you returns, but it is the most empowering decision you can make. When you choose yourself, you protect your heart, honor your resilience, and refuse to be defined by past pain. You affirm that you are worthy of something better. Choosing yourself is not an apology. It is a declaration of your worth, your value, and your right to be happy, at peace, and love. Your peace is priceless. Do not trade it for another round of heartbreak. Stay strong, stay wise, and remember, you deserve a love that never asks you to question your worth. There is a mystery in being chosen, a sacred calling that many do not fully grasp. When you are set apart for a purpose that reaches beyond your own life, it carries a weight that most will never be asked to bear. Those called to something higher, those marked by destiny, must walk a different road, and more often than not, they must walk it alone. God doesn't summon you into comfort. He doesn't place you among the crowd so you can blend in and feel safe. No, He pulls you aside, He sets you apart, and in that separation there is often a deep sense of isolation, of being alone, misunderstood, and misplaced. But hear me, you were never meant to fit in where you were created to lead. The weight of being chosen is not light. It changes how you see the world. It changes what you hear, how you think, and what you feel. The vision within you, the fire in your soul, will drive you down paths others won't comprehend. You will try to explain, but your words will sound foreign to their ears. You will invite them to join you, but they'll hesitate, resist, or walk away, and this is where the pain strikes deepest. Because being chosen not only sets you apart from the world, it often distances you from the people you love. Some of you know this pain all too well. You've sat among others, surrounded and yet alone, aching with the emptiness of not belonging. You've stood in rooms full of people and still felt like an outsider. Though friends and family gather around you, something inside feels hollow, because somewhere deep in your spirit, you know you were made for something more. And that ache, it isn't a mistake. That loneliness you feel isn't accidental. It's a signal. It's God shaping something in you that He isn't forming in everyone else. When you are chosen, you cannot live like everyone else. You cannot think as they think or move as they move. That is why you feel out of place. That is why it's hard to relate. It's not because something is wrong with you. It's because something in you is different. God has placed something within you that demands separation, because what He is cultivating requires your focus, your obedience, your discipline, and your willingness to be misunderstood. Some of the most powerful vessels God has ever used spent seasons in isolation before they were lifted up. Consider Moses, raised among royalty, yet never truly one of them. Chosen to deliver his people, but first rejected by them. Or Joseph, who received a divine dream, but was betrayed and sold by his own brothers. Or David, anointed king, yet again and again sent back to the fields. The pattern repeats. Before the chosen step into destiny, they must endure the pain of being set apart. And that pain, it breaks you, it humbles you, it brings you low, but it's in that breaking that God prepares you. He strips away what cannot go with you, the seasonal relationships, the destructive habits, the noise that drowns His voice. And often, the only way for Him to do that is to lead you into solitude, away from everything and everyone you thought you needed. I know it hurts. I know there are nights when you ask why God would entrust you with such a heavy load. I know there are moments when you feel you can't go on, when you doubt your strength, your calling. But hear me now, you were made for this. You were built to carry this burden. You were chosen. And if God has called you to it, He will equip you to walk through it. Your loneliness is not your end. It is your beginning. It is the refining fire that clarifies your purpose. It is the silence where God's voice speaks the loudest. It is the sacred ground where your destiny begins to take shape. So don't resist it, don't fight it, embrace it. Because when the day comes, and it will, when God declares that it's time for you to step into everything He has ordained for you, you will look back and realize that the solitude wasn't abandonment, it was divine prep. It was God walking with you, forming you, shaping you, so that when you are finally sent forth, you will be ready. Rejection has a way of piercing deep. It causes you to question your worth, to wonder if you are truly enough, if you're truly meant for the calling that burns within you. You step forward in faith, believing others will recognize what God has placed in you. You expect support, loyalty, companionship, but instead you are met with silence, turned backs, and empty hands. And that pain, it doesn't just bruise your heart, it rattles your soul. But I need you to understand something. Rejection is not punishment. It is preparation. It is not God declaring you unworthy. It is God setting you apart. Too often we take rejection to heart, interpreting it as failure, as abandonment, as proof that we do not matter. But when God allows rejection to touch your life, it is because He is realigning your path. He is shielding you. He is ensuring that you do not settle for less than the greatness He placed within you. Consider Joseph once more. His own brothers turned against him. He was cast into a pit, sold into slavery, all while carrying dreams of divine purpose. But those rejections were necessary. Had his brothers accepted him, he might have remained in place. Had they embraced him, he might never have stepped into the journey that led him to Egypt, to power, to the fulfillment of God's promise. Sometimes the very people you expect to support you will become the ones who push you away. They will not grasp your vision. They won't see what you see, and you will be tempted to dim your light, to lower your calling, to shrink yourself just to be accepted. But you were not called to be accepted. You were called to rise. You were chosen to stand where others will not. You were anointed to lead, to blaze a trail, to carry a torch in the dark. That is why rejection is not your enemy. It is a marker of divine movement. When you were rejected, do not chase after those who dismissed your worth. Do not mourn the doors that closed. If God allowed them to shut, it means something better is waiting. You may not see it now, you may not understand it yet, but if you keep walking, keep trusting, you will look back and know every no was leading to a greater yes. Some of you are still clinging to the sting of rejection. You're replaying conversations, reliving moments, and letting the voices of those who left shape your identity. But listen closely. Your worth is not measured by who walked away. Your purpose is not voided because someone didn't believe in you. If God called you, that is all the confirmation you will ever need. If He chose you, then no human rejection can derail what He has ordained. You must shift your perspective. Stop seeing rejection as a curse. Begin to recognize it as evidence that God is working. He is closing the wrong doors. He is removing those who cannot walk with you into your future. He is preparing the environment where you will flourish in the right place, at the right time, with the right people. Even Jesus was rejected, mocked, despised, betrayed by the very ones He came to save. His close companions turned on Him, and still He pressed on. He did not allow rejection to derail His mission. If even Jesus had to endure rejection, why do we think we won't? Why do we imagine that being chosen means we'll be celebrated? The truth is, the higher the calling, the deeper the rejection. The greater the purpose, the lonelier the road. But still, walk it. I need you to truly understand this. Rejection is not the conclusion of your story. It's a vital chapter in your preparation. It's molding you, refining your character, and fortifying your spirit. Because when you finally arrive at the place where God has been leading you, you look back and recognize that every rejection was God's way of saying, I have something greater. You'll see that He was always in control, always guiding your steps, and always preparing you for something far beyond what you could have imagined. So the next time rejection finds you, don't break down. Don't plead for acceptance. Stand tall, lift your head with confidence, and remember, you were never created to blend in. You were meant to stand out. And God is using every rejection to move you closer to your divine purpose. There comes a moment in life when you realize that before God elevates you, He first allows you to be broken. Not in a way that destroys you, but in a way that strips away everything that cannot go with you into the next chapter. It's a kind of breaking that purifies, that humbles, that prepares, because God never promotes without first preparing, and preparation always comes at a cost. Many believe being chosen means a smooth path, a life untouched by pain. But if you examine the lives of those God has used, you'll notice a pattern. Before the elevation comes isolation. Before the breakthrough comes heartbreak, and before the crown comes crushing. In that crushing, it will feel as though everything is unraveling. The very things you once thought were stable begin to fall apart. And you'll question why God is allowing such pain when all you've tried to do is walk in His will. But that's the reality of being chosen. It means you must endure what others won't, because you are being prepared for what others can't carry. When there's a high calling on your life, God cannot allow you to step into it unprepared. He cannot let you carry pride, bitterness, unforgiveness, or dependency on people. So He allows the breaking, not out of cruelty, but because the greatness He's placed within you requires transformation. Consider David, anointed while still a young man, destined to be king, yet before he ever touched a throne, he fled for his life, took shelter in caves, and faced betrayal from those he once defended. God had already chosen him, but he wasn't ready. The anointing was on him, but the process was still required, and the process was painful. Some of you are walking through that process right now. You're in the midst of the breaking, unable to make sense of it. You look around and wonder why doors are closing, why relationships are unraveling, why the things you once prayed for now seem to be slipping away. You're asking, why me? Why now? Why this? The answer is simple, because God is forming you into who you were always destined to be. Gold is purified in fire. Diamonds are formed under immense pressure. Olive oil flows only when the olive is crushed. And you, the gift inside of you, can only be revealed through the breaking. The dreams God has given you, the purpose embedded deep within you, the strength He knows resides in you, all of it must be drawn out. And that drawing out never happens in comfort. It doesn't happen when everything is easy. It happens when you're on your knees, when everything else has failed you, when all you have left is His Word. You may not see it now, but a day will come when you'll look back and thank Him for the breaking. One day it will be clear that every tear, every loss, every heartbreak wasn't working against you. It was working for you. What you thought was rejection was actually His protection. What you assumed was suffering was preparation. What you believed was the end was in truth the beginning of the person He was shaping you to become. So don't resist the process. Don't rush the healing. Let God do what only He can do. Let Him strip away what no longer serves your purpose. Let Him remove the distractions, the attachments, the comforts keeping you from walking fully in your calling. Yes, it will hurt. Yes, it will feel unfair. But when He is finished with you, you will be stronger. You will be wiser. You will be unshakable. And when the moment arrives, when He lifts you up, you will be ready. When God sets you apart, it doesn't always come with signs or wonders that command attention. Often it's far more subtle, yet deeply powerful. He makes you different. And for a long time, you may not even understand why. You just sense that you don't quite belong. You could be in a crowd and still feel like you're walking a separate road. You may be offered opportunities, But something within you whispers, they're not meant for you. You might build relationships, but they never seem to last. Eventually you begin to wonder, why do I feel so disconnected? Why is my journey so unlike those around me? And the answer is simple, because you were never designed to blend in. You were never meant to settle where you didn't belong. Your life is marked by a calling that is unlike any other. And that calling demands a different road. It demands a process many won't understand. There's a weight that comes with being chosen, a loneliness that often shadows purpose. And if you're not careful, you'll begin to resent the very thing that makes you unique. You'll start to see your difference as a burden instead of a blessing. You'll think something is wrong with you because you don't conform, because you don't move like others, because you refuse to settle. But hear this, being different is not a curse. It is the evidence of God's hand on your life. It's the sign that He's calling you higher, preparing you for something greater, something that demands you be set apart. And that process, it's never easy. It will cost you people. It will bring seasons of solitude, moments where you feel unseen and misunderstood. You'll walk through doors alone, trusting that the God who led you there will also sustain you. You'll be called to make choices that seem illogical to others, decisions that require faith and sacrifice. Look at Moses. He grew up with privilege, wealth, and power in Pharaoh's palace. He could have stayed. He could have lived comfortably. But deep down, he knew he didn't belong. He was called to something greater, and that calling pulled him into the wilderness, into isolation, into a season where all he had was God. But in that space where everything was stripped away, God met him. Some of you are in that wilderness right now. You feel separated from what once felt familiar, and the temptation is to believe you've gone astray or done something wrong. But I need you to know, this is not punishment, this is preparation. God isn't isolating you to harm you. He is setting you apart to shape you. He is teaching you to depend fully on Him, to trust Him when the way ahead is unclear, to walk by faith when sight fails. And when the moment finally arrives, when He unveils what all of this has been for, you will look back and understand. Understand this, every season of loneliness, every painful decision, every moment where you felt out of place, it all had purpose. One day you'll look back and realize He was never ignoring you, never forgetting you. He was setting you apart, molding you, preparing you so that when the moment came to step fully into your calling, you would be ready. There is a weight that comes with being chosen. It draws attention, makes you a target. The very instant God sets you apart, the moment He places a divine purpose on your life, the warfare begins. And for many, that battle begins early. Some of you have faced resistance for as long as you can remember. It's felt as though you've had to fight for everything, your peace, your direction, your very sense of being. You didn't go looking for the fight came looking for you. And still you wonder why your life has been a battleground while others seem to glide through theirs untouched. You question why you've had to endure such loss, rejection, betrayal, and hardship. And if you're honest, sometimes it doesn't make sense. But listen to me now. The attacks against your life are evidence of the anointing upon it. The enemy does not waste his efforts on those who pose no threat. He does not pursue those without a purpose, without a calling, without a destiny. He pursues the ones marked by God for something greater. That's why your battles have been so fierce. That's why you've endured what should have broken you. That's why He's come after you again and again, because He sees what's within you, even in the moments you've doubted it yourself. He knows. Look at Joseph. God gave him a dream, a glimpse of the destiny ahead. But before that dream became reality, he was thrown into a pit, betrayed by his own brothers, sold as a slave, falsely accused, and imprisoned. His life seemed to be unraveling, yet in truth it was all aligning. Every trial, every setback, every heartbreak was pushing him into position for the very thing God had already prepared. And some of you are in that exact space right now. You feel like you're in the pit and you can't understand why. You're staring at the chaos in your life, at the betrayals, the wounds, the endless obstacles, and you're questioning how any of it could possibly matter. But what you don't see is what's being built behind the scenes. What you don't realize is that every single battle has been a training ground for where you're headed. The trials designed to break you have instead been forging you. The pain meant to destroy you has only made you stronger. Because here is the reality. God doesn't call those who haven't been tested. He doesn't hand great responsibility to those who haven't been prepared. So he allows the struggle not to crush you, but to equip you. He permits the fight not to defeat you, but to develop you. Because if you're going to carry the weight of the calling he's placed on your life, you must be strong enough to stand, wise enough to discern, and resilient enough to press on when everything inside you wants to give up. And that is exactly why the enemy has fought so relentlessly. That is why the pressure has felt unrelenting, because once you step into who God created you to be, once you fully realize the authority and the power that resides within you, there is nothing the enemy can do to stop you. He can attack, but he cannot win. He can place obstacles before you, but he cannot undo what God has spoken over you. So don't allow the warfare to harden your heart. Don't let the attacks cause you to doubt your identity. Know this: every challenge, every hardship, every spiritual battle is confirmation that you are walking in your purpose. It is proof that you are not average, not ordinary. You have been set apart. God's hand is upon your life. And when you come through this, and you will, you'll emerge stronger, wiser, and prepared for everything God has promised. So keep pressing forward, keep standing firm. Victory already belongs to you. When God places a calling on your life, he doesn't merely carve out a path for you, he shapes you to walk it. And that process is rarely easy. It seldom unfolds the way you'd expect. It almost never looks like the journey you would have chosen for yourself. Because being chosen doesn't mean the path will be smooth. It doesn't mean doors will swing open without resistance. It doesn't mean people will understand you, support you, or applaud your journey. Sometimes being chosen means walking alone. Sometimes it means being rejected by the very people you thought would stand by you. Sometimes it means weathering storms you never anticipated and fighting battles you never prepared for. And in those moments, you might begin to question whether you were truly called at all. Because in your mind, if you were really chosen by God, wouldn't the path be a little easier? Wouldn't the people see your heart and rally around you? Wouldn't the timing make sense and the weight lift? But what if I told you the struggle is the evidence, that the solitude is part of the refining, that the breaking is where the true making begins? Think about David. When the prophet anointed him as king, he was just a shepherd boy, overlooked, dismissed by his own family, far from a throne. And after he was chosen, his life didn't become easier, it became harder. He was hunted, forced to hide in caves, misunderstood, betrayed, thrust into battle after battle. Yet every lonely night, every moment of despair, every uncertain season was crafting him into the king he was destined to become. Some of you are in that season right now. You feel cast aside, you feel invisible. You've remained faithful, yet the doors stay shut. You've been obedient, yet the road keeps getting harder. And now you're questioning whether you have the strength to continue. But let me remind you, just because you haven't seen the promise fulfilled doesn't mean it isn't coming. Just because you're in a wilderness doesn't mean you've lost your way. God is not punishing you. He's preparing you. In the silence, he's fortifying your spirit. In the hidden place, he's shaping your character. He's teaching you to trust when there's nothing else to lean on. Because when the time comes for you to walk into your purpose, you won't just be ready, you'll be unshakable. And not everyone will understand that process. Not everyone will see what God is cultivating within you. Some will question it. Some will walk away. Some will doubt what they cannot discern. But don't let their blindness make you question your vision. Don't let their absence cause you to forget what God already confirmed. If people walk away, let them go. If doors close, trust that they weren't meant to open. If the path is rougher than expected, understand it's because the destination is greater than you imagined. The chosen ones always carry the heaviest weight. They always face the fiercest trials, but they also walk in the deepest power, because once you've been refined by fire, once you've survived the valley and kept your faith intact, there is nothing left that can break you. So don't lose hope in the process. Don't let the struggle cloud your vision. Keep walking, keep believing, keep trusting, because every word God has spoken over your life will come to pass. And when that moment arrives, when the shaping is complete and the time is right, nothing and no one will be able to hinder what God has already prepared for you. So stay faithful, stay strong. Your time is coming.